Hello and welcome back to AC's Make and Repair. If you haven't been on my channel before, my name's Arthur, and today we're going to cover an issue that is common in the workshop, and that's lack of lighting, in particular lighting on individual machines. I've set up a lot of lighting on individual machines, and there's a number of reasons why I've done that. I usually only set them up on a machine where detail is needed. Where I think I can use just the overhead light or the standard light in the workshop that's on the ceiling, I'll use that. But if I need detail, I will set them up in such a way that I have a clear vision of my lines and marking out to do what I need to do with detail. So we're going to go through some things today that we're going to cover. We're going to cover styles of bulbs, some styles of fittings, shades, because you don't want light shining in your eye while you're doing anything with fine detail. Accessibility for some of these. Some of these lights are very simple. Some of them are old flexible desk lamps that I've set up on machines to do the job. So come with me today and I'll go through some machines that I've got them on and show you what types of lights I've set up and how I've set them up. So this is a light that I have set up on one of my bandsaws. It throws good light down to my table, so I can see my marks nice and clearly. It's an old floodlight. It started off its life something similar to this. The bracket's different, the mounting's different. This is a sort of flange mounting type. This is just one that you can screw on yourself on a fascia board, etc. But this is what it would have started off like years ago. This one has been mounted over the years on a block of wood with a switch, etc., which is quite handy. You don't necessarily need a switch close to your machine. You might have an old power board a short distance away that you can plug your plug into and just switch it on there. But it is quite handy if you do have a switch close by. The type of bulbs that I do use, these ones here are an LED bulb. This one's a ceiling type of bulb. You don't need that style. You can get away with the standard LED bulb like this. Now different brands call them different things. These ones are cool white, these ones are cool daylight. Do go for the cool white or the cool daylight. Do not go for the warm white, I find. They don't throw a very good light. And whereas the cool white or the cool daylight, you saw that what that one was like. If I just put this one back in, you'll have an idea. It's the same sort of light, except that one's got more shining in your face. So where it comes to something shining in your face, you might need a shade of some description to stop it shining in your eyes while you're cutting. Now, even this one at times can be a bit glary, so you could use a little bit of insulation tape if it's too glary, just to block that area of that globe off. Now, it mightn't last very long because there is a little bit of warmth generated by these LEDs still, so you might be able to put a piece of some paint over it or make another little shade to go over it, whatever suits your need. But either way, that blocks that light from shining into my eyes, so that's a plus for me. I'll actually just tear that off and leave that on there because it's quite good actually. So we'll leave that there now. Some of these things are quite simple to work out. Sometimes the simplest things in life are the best solutions. So I'll give you a quick idea how that looks when you're cutting, so you get an idea. Well, before I do that though, I'll just quickly move over and show you, how that's set up. So it's just a flange mount. There is a switch there. The lead goes over behind it safely out of the road of the band and the machine. There is a bolt that goes through the back of the door. It's an old machine, so I wasn't really particularly worried about that years ago, and at all. Wasn't worried about it, so I put that on there. There's a washer behind that, so I can move that if I need to. It doesn't obstruct my view to the band down below there where I'm cutting, so it is quite good that way. So I'll just start it up and show you just a quick cut so you get an idea how much light it does generate. This is just normal daylight. We have got no lights on in the workshop at all, so it's quite good. Okay, so there you go. If I switched it off, actually, alright, so there it is off. Now when you switch it on through the camera, it doesn't look like it makes a lot of difference, but in real life it really lightens it up. You can actually see your detail of your lines, so you can follow them quite easily. So there you have it. Now I will sand that later in case you're wondering why I didn't cut so close to the lines, and I'll sand that later quite easily. Actually on the sander I'll show you the light there and how it's clear too. So it makes it a lot better when you're cutting for things like that. But that's a simple setup. You can adjust that in and out if you wanted to. I found just to set up where it's set, I put it up in such a way that it wasn't in my viewing path, but it shone good light for what I needed. Okay, so this is an old pattern saw I've got. It's a jigsaw type of pattern saw. Quite handy, quite handy tool. It's many years old, it's well made, it's an Australian made machine. It has just an old desk lamp. See, one of these old desk lamps that have the arm on it. You can move it around wherever you want. I can move it right in to where I'm working, and I lock it off over here by means of a thumb lock there that would do it. It has a switch on it from original on the desk. It throws very good light for this machine, hence you can get close to lines, save a lot of sanding time. It's very good, this lighting setup. Once again, you can get one of these old lamps, desk lamps. It's got a good shade on it. I put an LED bulb in it, and I haven't been using LEDs for all my life because we didn't have them years ago, but they are very, very good, I find, especially for the white light to do these particular jobs. Now on this drill press, I have an old flexible, what would you call that, conduited lamp. It was off an old lamp. It had a clear shade on, white shade on it, but it had this flexible conduit on it that you can actually flex to a position and leave. So I mounted it at the back of the machine up there and brought it around. It was a little bit vibrating just here, so I did something simple. I just put a little bit of wire around it here, which was good because if you need to move it again, you can just undo the piece of wire and move it. But it has a lamp switch on it. Once again, this is something you could probably easily access. You might even have one in your shed or in your house that you're not using and you're going to get rid of. Don't get rid of it. The original shade was only a short shade, hence the bulb would shine in your eyes. So I just got this is an old beetroot tin with a stepper drill. I drilled a hole through to make a shade up, screwed it on underneath there, and then put my bulb back in. But it's quite clear too. That's without light. This is with light. To the camera, it doesn't seem a lot, but in real life, amazing difference. So I'll zoom in if I can there. And I'll just move you a bit closer. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom in a bit more if I can. And I'll switch that light off again. But like I said, in real life, it's a lot clearer. And there you go. So that's one light I've got set up on one drill press. Quite simple. Switch is already on the lamp. It's quite handy, so when you finish you can just switch it straight off. The flexibility of it, you can move it out to there. Maybe you wanted to work on something out here, you could switch it on, use it, and quite good. Like I said, the shade is good because it doesn't let, and jam tins are quite good, or any sort of these tin tins are quite good for a shade because they block the light shining in your eyes. Okay, so this is another drill press I have. This is in a metal working area that we have separate from a woodworking area because I don't like mixing sparks with sawdust and shavings. I'm a bit of a fanatic on that area. Don't need any problems. But this has an old lamp on it too. Has a switch on it up here. It's just an old desk lamp. They used to come with a round base with a little spring-loaded clip that you'd slip on the end of your, edge of the desk. I took that off. The nut goes straight through. This is an old cover. Just drill the 3/8 hole through the cover, put the nut on the back of that too. And once again, you've got good light. You can face it away from yourself, but you've still got light on your object down here if you want to drill a hole nice and clean and neat. All these things are for detail that you need to see clearly. So that's another thing you could do. Like I said, it's already got the switch incorporated. You can run it back through to where you plug your drill press in and it'd be fine. Okay, so moving right along, this is an overhead router I have. Some of you would have seen it in previous videos. It's just got an old desk lamp. They did these in a configuration for bed lamps as well as desk lamps. I don't need it right up close. I need it just for a safety factor when you're using the overhead router, more so. So when I switch it on, it gives me light. It mightn't seem, like I said before, it mightn't seem much to you guys through the camera. The camera doesn't do it justice, I don't believe, but in real life, you can move it around there and it can shine good light for what you want. I'll zoom in down the front there and we'll just cut something or take a little bit of a rebate or something, just to give you an idea, you know, what you can do with this sort of thing. I'm just using a simple push I made up for this. It's quite handy. Once again, it's got the switch already incorporated into the lamp from original. I just mounted it using the base mounting bolt up the top here. I'll just zoom in up there if I can. I just, part of one of the covers at the top, I just drilled a hole through it. So we had a 3/8 hole, had a nut on it. This part had the nut on the back side of it. And I just screw it up and it was able to be mounted. Once again, something quite simple you could pick up and mount yourself without having to get it hardwired in or anything like that. Need to get an electrician because it's already got a switch and a cable incorporated into it. Okay, so this is a light that I have set up on my disc sander, and it was an old clamp style of light like that, and basically it was a flange mount too, not a flange mount, an old sort of desk lamp or bed lamp or whatever. The shade on it's getting a bit hatted. It's just an old tin can, baked beans tin or something like that, drilled down so the little shroud cover in there will clamp it back into place. It's got an LED light too, so it works quite good too for what it is. Just clamp that back on there. I've got it clamped. It misses my disc by a long distance, and I've got it incorporated in such a way where it plugs into the power point. There's actually been a power point mounted to this machine over the years that when you switch it on, it switches the motor on for the machine. And I've got a, it's actually like a piggyback power point. I'll show you. I don't know if every country's got them, but in Australia you've got these type of power point. So it's quite good. So when I switch the machine on, it actually switches my light on at the same time, and I'll show you that in a second. So basically when I switch it on, the light comes straight on. Sorry about the glare there, but it's not that glary in real life either. Let's get a bit closer, zoom down, and you know, so in real life it's quite good. The shades in my, there you go, I'll put it down like that a bit. So it is quite good. I'll just zoom in so you can see. So this is that bracket I cut before, and just is going to do some light passes on it. There we are, back to the line already. So, you know, quite good for that sort of thing there. And I set that up years ago so I could watch my lines in detail so it didn't go over my lines. Very handy. Once again, an old, just the use of an old lamp that was already made. You can get some of these with a switch on them there. There's not a problem. You could mount one of the flexible ones here, not a problem. Shaking about doesn't seem to cause an issue with lighting at all. It's quite good. These LEDs are very robust. They seem to last forever compared to the incandescent or the halogen. Don't use a halogen or an incandescent. They don't last as long. These are far better, I find. That's my own personal opinion. Alright, so here we are. We're above our metalworking lathe here at the moment. This is another lamp. It was on a big stand, and I unscrewed the flexible part out of the top. Simply made a saddle up there that held it on the bottom of a shelf I have. It has an inline switch on the lead. So the switch is inline. On this one though, because the shade was big enough, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. I've run an outside door floodlight bulb in it. They're very high lumens, very bright lights, and there you go, it gives you an idea how bright they are. So I shine that down over the little lathe we have down there, and it gives really good light for that. And it's only a matter of me reaching up, flexing it if it needs to be moved. I usually have it set up in one position. The switch is up there, up there, in line on the cable that was on the lamp originally. So I didn't have to get an electrician in to wire it or anything like that. It was already in line and switched there. Okay, so above my workbench, literally only 3 or 4 foot above my workbench, I have a light which has a switch on the side of it. Here, it's an old fluoro. What it does, it throws a considerable amount of light over my bench for general use, better than the whole shed workshop lights do by far for the bench area. That's quite handy. I've just got it, it's been wired in such a way, it's been hung from the ceiling. It's quite good. It comes right down over your area. Okay, alright, here we have a bench grinder. Now, I made a setup on this specifically for this grinder, just for grinding detail like drill bits, etc. I made a little timber arm. If you can see there, I'll just zoom in if I can. And that's mounted via, I'll just come closer. I've got an old hinge over there, and what I've done is put a bolt through, a cup head bolt through it with this knob that I had lying around on it, and then I went out to the end and I put a little angle bracket. Just zoom out a bit so you can see that a bit. There's a little angle bracket there. So you can move that head backwards and forwards like that. You can tighten it into position with the wing nut. Once again, it's an old lamp. It come off a vertical stand sort of thing. The bracket had broken. I had it somewhere. I picked a lot of these things over the years. I've picked them up. Friends were going to chuck them, or somebody was going to chuck them out, and I grabbed them, or I got them from a scrap yard or recycle yard. But as you can see, it's got its own switch too. And the beauty of this setup is you can move it from either side to either side. I can actually bring it in right close down to where I'm grinding, really close. And it's got a LED white daylight bulb in it too, which is quite good. And when I'm finished, I can just push it up out of the road, and if I need extra lighting over on the floor area around, I can move it around, flip it out that way, and I'll just shine anywhere I want pretty well with that. Very handy little setup. Like I say, the mount is very simple. It's an old hinge screwed to the side of an old cupboard we got with that that locking device there with a bolt that goes through from this side, and it just locks off there. Quite simple to do. Once again, the switch is already incorporated into the light. You don't have to have it hardwired in, anything like that. I do have a light that is on a telescopic arm. It comes right out. I can move it around over objects. I'll just move my camera right back and I'll show you how that works if I can. Okay, so it's made at a box section. It's only light gauge box section. I think this was inch and this was 3/4. They telescope inside each other. Inch is here and 3/4 here. I have a little bolt, like a grub screw, that comes through. You can lower the arm up or down and then lock it off in the position you want it in. Also, you can move the telescope inside and in and out. Now, I have a 3/4 inch box section here, but at the end I have a piece of, I think what is a small diameter pipe. It's only about, I think it's only about 5/8 on the outside, but it fits perfectly inside the 3/4 box section. So I can actually pivot the head of my light around. I don't know if you can see that. On the light end here, is I've got a floodlight mounted. Because this is a piece of pipe, I can actually pivot that around. But it can slide in and out too. And when you've got the area at the length you want it, you can just lock them off to these little lock-off devices. Quite good. Now, I'll show you how that's been wired over the years. Quite simple and quite safe. I'll just go around the other side. So what it's got is, it's actually got, I'm trying to get close, it's actually got a power point with a lead running out of it that goes up through some little guides right up, and up the top there's a pulley. I don't know if you can see it. I'll go close there. That's actually about 8 foot off the floor, that is. And it goes down, the lead goes down. Now when I push and telescope it back in, I had to have some way of it retracting, and I found once it was wide it didn't retract that good. So down here I put a sinker. I had just got an old fishing sinker, lead sinker, and literally just put some wire around it and stuck it to the outside insulation of the cable. It is safe, there's no problem there. So when I move and telescope it in and out, that sinker goes up and down, and it retracts the lead as I need when I telescope it in. There is another little pulley just there, and a guide made out of a custom-made guide out of wire just there. And here's a close-up of them little bolts for the lock-off devices, and it works really well. In fact, I'll just get around the back side because the glare's too bad for you guys. I'm going to do a video on this one day, and I might, because I want to make another one for my woodworking area, because they're quite a handy device to get done. Of course, like I said, it's got a floodlight, similar to that one that I was showing you near the bandsaw before. I run an exterior bulb, and that's a floodlight, very high lumen, very, very good for this application. I can lower it down over a vise. I'll show you that in a second, so you get an idea of what you can do with this thing. So there you have it. We're within 6 inches of this chainsaw chain. This gives you an example of what you can do, and because you've got your light right there, you can see exactly what you're doing, and it's quite a handy setup for this sort of thing. I actually use this. I've got a chainsaw chain grinder that I clamp in my vise here, so when I've got loose chains and they need a grind, I actually can clamp the grinder on here, plug it into this power point here, and straight up I've got everything what I need right up close to where I'm grinding for detail. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. I thought I'd show it to you guys because it is something I believe any person could do, is mount one of these old lamps. Or you might have another light that's got a switch on it or a lead on it that you can actually plug in and use in the application for your tools or machines. And lighting is a really great thing when you get it in place. I actually put the light on that old drill press, the first drill press I showed you just recently, because I did the tutorial of the table, the drill table there, and I recognised, I thought, oh, you know, I've been meaning to put a light on this for ages, let's do the light. So I did the light, and I thought, I'll show you guys the other lighting I've got, because for many years now I've had other lighting. This light here, this telescopic one, I think 15, 18 years ago I probably made this, and I got the idea, I think many years ago when I was helping a photographer out, and he wanted some things to telescope in and out for lighting and for reflectors and that he was using in his studio. So that was a thing that I caught on to pretty quick, and I've made up a design of my own, this design of my own, that works really, really well. There are things out there that do that sort of thing, but they're not like what I've done here, and this is a quite simple setup that anybody could make. The other lights, like I said, the lamps, you could have one of those and put them up around your machine quite easily. A lot of lamps today have the inline switch, which is quite handy too. Anyhow, look, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Please suggest me to your friends, even if you wouldn't mind. That would be good. It'd be good to get more views and to get more subscribers. I'm only new at this, and I'd like it to go some places. That'd be great. And I'd like to be a help to you guys too. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.